Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Kiyan.
This is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where our lives are a lie, because this week we watched Victory of the Daleks.
By Mark Gatiss.
Directed by Andrew Gunn.
And aired on April 17th, 2010.
Wow, I'm just seeing now that this story was apparently novelized. Didn't know that had happened at any point.
You know, a lot of them were. I don't know how much of the new series was, but at least this one was. Plus, this is written by Mark Gatiss. Maybe he just went and
This
wrote it as a
photos
book.
novelization is suitable for Fluent Plus readers. Inside the book, there are a lot of photos from the televised story with a few text. Who wrote this wiki page?
Well, maybe it's one of those, junior
I think it's one of those
books.
junior novelizations. Yeah. They brought the Target novelizations back for the reboot just recently. Yeah. They did, I think, 4 episodes.
You gotta wonder why this one was chosen as, a book for young
because
readers.
War is for kids. That's what happened. Anyway, let's talk production information, as we do when we start these episodes. So basically, the genesis of this idea, genesis of the Daleks. The genesis of this idea was a script that Mark Gatiss had apparently written for Series 4, which didn't get made, which is apparently a World War II Blitz set story, and it was rejected. So if you'll remember, Mark Gatiss' last script for the show was Idiot's Lantern back in Series 3, I think it was. So he had this Blitz story, and then Stephen Moffat, because I guess his best friend is Mark Gatiss or something, was like, hey, Mark, you want to write an episode for my season? Because apparently Stephen Moffat was like, I'm going to kind of follow Russell T's formula here. We're going to go once into the future and then once into the past. We're going to meet this historical figure, which is why, like Kiyan mentioned last week's story was actually pretty similar to End of the World. Because
but it's less literary this time. They just go back to World War II.
Yeah, well, so now they're emulating the Going to the Past thing, which is what they did with Charles Dickens in The Unquiet Dead, and then also with
Shakespeare
in the Shakespeare Code.
Again, less literary and less focused on the guy of the week, right? Churchill.
Well, so Moffat was like, to differentiate myself, Churchill and the Doctor are going to be old friends. And that's what he did to differentiate it, and then Gatiss was like, I already had this script that was set in the Blitz, I'll just clean it up. And Moffat was like, yeah, can you add the Daleks while you add it? And he's like, yeah, I can add the Daleks. And then here we are.
Well, the Daleks were also redesigned.
Right.
And this was done for multiple reasons. One, and I think a big reason for this is related to the egos of maybe several people who worked on this.
Yeah, possibly. They were kind of like, yo, we've got the show now. We should redesign the Daleks so that we've officially redesigned everything. Although I don't think they actually redesigned the Cybermen later, so not that it really matters.
Well, this episode actually, we'll get to this way at the end, but this episode actually touches on some stuff that Doctor Who has really always been about. So, that's a big callback there. But anyway. Redesign the Daleks.
Well, another reason is that the old Daleks were designed to be, the eye stalk was designed to be at the same height as Billy Piper's eyes, and then Karen Gillan is apparently much, much taller than Billy Piper, so these new Daleks are designed to have their eye stalk at the same height as Karen Gillan.
I question, the integrity of even doing that, right? If you go back and watch the classic show, I've been going back and rewatching the Daleks, the second story ever, and were the Daleks in that really designed to anyone's height? I don't know. Probably not.
No, I don't, well... Were they designed to anyone's height? I think that answer is actually yes, but it's designed to the height of the guy they were going to hire to move the Daleks around, really. So that he didn't have to, crush himself into some sort of tiny costume, but also they couldn't be too big because then he wouldn't be able to move it around, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I haven't looked up production stuff for that yet.
And, well, the other thing was then they decided to, I guess they tried to do I don't remember what classic story this was, but it was the 7th Doctor one where they got $1 billion specialized for every single role ever.
Yeah, I don't remember what that one was either.
And it must have been Revelation or something. And so they've got the 5 Daleks, and they're all named different things. There's the Scientist, the Supreme...
There was the Endless or something.
The Eternal. Stephen Moffat named that one. He's like, he didn't know what
That's the best one.
He didn't know what it meant, but he was just like, this one's going to be named the Eternal Dalek.
Yeah, that one's the best one. Maybe they can bring that one back and it can be immortal or something. I don't know.
Okay, here we go. The Scientist, the Strategist, the Drone, the Eternal and the Supreme.
The drone.
In Doctor Who Confidential, Moffat and Gatiss both admit they don't know what the title Eternal means, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, it does.
Apparently it's a direct quote.
It really does. Maybe, like I just said, maybe they can bring it back and it can be immortal, or I don't know.
I'm pretty sure after this, these colorful Daleks just show up in the background as just like worker drone Daleks.
Well, I read, getting into some reception stuff here, I read that this redesign and these Daleks weren't that well received, so they just sort of delegated them to not the standard model of the Dalek anymore.
They just tried to kind of pretend that they hadn't killed off all the old Daleks in this story.
And I don't know why that's the case, because I really liked the new design. It doesn't look that drastically different. And this is, I forget the two people who were majorly in charge of redesigning them. There was one concept artist and one person who was actually responsible or oversaw like the actual implementation of those designs.
Right.
And they wanted to actually more drastically change the Daleks, but it was actually Stephen Moffat and I think Mark Gatiss too who were like, no, we got to tone it back. We can't have them be as different as you want them to be.
Right.
Which
They're
is
still
weird.
pretty different. They're still really different, actually.
They're noticeably different, but the similarities are, I think, still there more prevalently than the differences.
Possibly. I think the reason why it flopped was because people were like, man, bright colors in my Daleks? No.
Well, okay, what if, because the original show was in black and white, so what if, in the color era, I forget what the first Dalek story, Day of the Daleks maybe in the color era, but
yeah.
What if they just showed up there and they were like pink, like hot pink or something, or bright blue? Or
people still would have been like, colors in my Daleks? No.
It's like when the Twitch stream got to color and people like, whoa, the TARDIS is blue.
What color did you think a police box was? I guess
pink,
red.
maybe from the Happiness Patrol.
I would have assumed it was red if I didn't know it was blue already, honestly.
I probably would have just thought it was gray or black. Like
what if they got to the color era and it was just gray and black?
Just completely just not even different.
Turns out they live in a gray and black universe, and that's why it was in black and white. Anyway, the first scene filmed for this was... I don't remember, but I do remember that...
Why even bring it up?
Well, because I do remember that I'm pretty sure it was the location work for the bunker, because apparently they were going to build the bunker as a studio set, but they secured permission to use like an actual World War II era bunker.
It was in Wales somewhere.
To film in?
I think.
And I know the final scenes filmed were the ones inside the TARDIS with the Doctor talking to Danny Boy. So... And I'm pretty sure the first scenes filmed were the location work in the bunker, and then everything else, like the roof work, because there's shots on the roof, as well as some other scenes on the Dalek spaceship were filmed later, in between.
Yeah, the sets for this, since we're talking about them, weren't all that great. It means a World War II story.
It's a World War II bunker. There's not much you can do with it. They already gussied it up from real life, because that table with all the airplanes on didn't apparently, as I found out, actually exist in Churchill's real war bunker.
Sure, but like even just the decision to set the entire story or most of the story in the bunker is like, yeah, I don't know if it's a great idea, but they worked with what they had.
I think it worked out fine.
The Dalek ship kind of made up for it.
The Dalek ship was very bare,
but it looked cool though,
and empty, and barren.
Yeah, but it was like, this is where we're entering and Doctor Who actually has already sort of entered this, but like the Apple future type of world where everything is like clean and bright.
Yeah, wait till, what story is it? I think it's called The Girl Who Waited. Apple futurism taken to the max. Anyway, that's about all I have for the production information on this.
Yeah, that's, same here. I don't have much more. I don't think there is much more.
Yeah, it basically went without a hitch. The biggest interesting thing was Mark Gatiss took a script he had already written and was like, I'm just gussy it up and add some Daleks to it, and then we got our story, baby.
Winner. And this was a winner. I really liked this one. It wasn't the best thing ever, but it was pretty good.
All right.
It was pretty good in my opinion.
I watched it in 3 different settings. Maybe that ruined my perception of the story. Anyway, it begins
right off, and this is sort of a connection to the original Dalek story. Mm-hmm. It begins right off the bat, continuing on from the previous story.
Right, because the previous story, if you don't remember, ended with Winston Churchill calling the Doctor and being like, hey, we need some help here.
Right, and I forget who plays Winston Churchill. I forget his name.
Ian something, I think.
He's a name I've heard before. I don't
Ian
know where.
McNeice.
Yeah, I don't know where I've heard his name before, but it's a name I've heard before. But I can barely understand a word he's saying. The guy needs to articulate.
That's like the real world Winston Churchill.
Yeah, but still, like even just the decision to do that is like not something that should have been done.
I guess they're just trying to be historically accurate for whatever reason. It's like the movie The Darkest Hour. Also, couldn't really understand what Gary Oldman was saying because I guess that's just how the real Winston Churchill talked. I mean, in my opinion, I could understand him fine, so...
And what's weird is that I normally watch these episodes with subtitles, but for this one I didn't.
Well, it turns out the one episode you should have was the one you didn't.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's
called the Doctor, as we saw in the last episode, but as the 11th Doctor seems to do, he got there a month late.
Yeah, well, it starts off with the scene where they're like, man, these planes are getting shot down, and then Winston's like bringing out the secret weapon, and then you see them like roll out a little Dalek piece onto the
London is getting bombed,
map.
As they speak. As the Doctor shows up, they're getting just destroyed.
It is the Blitz. We don't know when during the Blitz, so it's entirely possible that like just down the road, the Ninth Doctor and Rose are just chilling in a speakeasy for the night. I don't know.
Well, this is all during the day, and...
Well, it's also during the night because the Daleks turn on the lights in the city.
All right, yeah, sure.
And the beginning scene is also during the night because the Germans would bomb at night because it's more difficult to shoot down a plane at night. Also more difficult to bomb something at night, but whatever. You just carpet bombing and don't really care what you hit. I guess that doesn't matter. So then we cut to after the opening credits. We get the Doctor and Amy show up, and Churchill's like, I called you a month ago. And the Doctor's like, damn. He's like, so you changed your face again. So I guess Churchill's never met the 11th Doctor, but he met a prior incarnation of the Doctor, an unspecified prior incarnation of the Doctor.
Well, when they first step out of the TARDIS, they're being held at gunpoint. And Amy sort of takes this in stride. It's kind of strange. It's a little off-putting how she doesn't really react to the guns in her face. But whatever, not a big deal.
She's just, doesn't need to be phased, really.
I really liked Amy. Amy's really growing on me.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
I still like Rory better once we get Rory, finally, as a companion. Just waiting for that moment for Rory to join the TARDIS.
I mean, I know several spoilers from this season.
Nice.
So I think I kind of know when he's going to show up.
Nice.
So, yeah. Yep.
Good going. How did you spoil that for yourself?
Just read all the Amazon descriptions.
Why? Would you do it?
Because I read a couple of them and I was like, whatever.
That's what my dad does. We'll be watching something and he'll be like, when we stop watching for the night, he'll just go and read the description for the next 5 episodes and he'll be like, okay, cool. And I'll be like, why would you do that?
Well, it's all about the destination, right? Sorry, I got that backwards. It's all about the journey, right? Not the destination.
But isn't the journey more enjoyable if you don't know what the journey is?
I don't know. Maybe in some cases, but not in all cases. I don't know. Rewatching things when you already know what's going to happen is also a really enjoyable thing to do.
I guess. Not always.
And also, knowing what's going to happen doesn't mean you know how it's executed in the actual episode itself.
I guess.
Which isn't to say I love spoilers, because I don't, but at the same time, I'm not too bothered by spoilers. I'm a little bothered by them, though.
Harry Potter dies. No, I'm just kidding. That's not a real spoiler.
Yeah, I don't know. And I literally don't care about that franchise anyway, so, whatever.
Anyway, then the Doctor's like, so what'd you call me here for? And when Churchill's like, well, I've got this secret weapon, and I guess it's daytime now, so he takes them up to the roof, because there's some planes coming. And the spotters are like, look, we got Heinkel's coming. And then Churchill's like, well, fire the weapons, and then they pew pew, Dalek sound effect, gun sound effect, pew pew pew. I don't know why it sounds like that in my head, but anyway, then the Doctor's like, wow, that's not human technology.
It kind of sounds like, except more metallic.
The Doctor's like, that's not human technology. What are those? And then Bracewell's like, these are my iron sides. Don't know why he calls them iron sides.
Yeah, Bracewell is the sort of scientist who supposedly at this point developed the Daleks. And you see a Dalek sort of roll out. It's in camo colors. It has a British flag on it. And it goes, I am your soldier.
This is very Power of the Daleks. Power of the Daleks, the Doctor lands, and they're like, man, look, we invented these Dalek things. And they're like, we are your servant. And the doctor's like, you can't, these are Daleks, you could, can't do this. And then halfway through the story, he finally convinces them the Daleks. And like, yep, turns out we're actually evil. So
yeah, I remember Power of the Daleks pretty well, actually, for some reason.
They even make reference to this by having Nicholas Briggs really draw out the S in soldier to catch people off guard. So are they going to say, we are your servant? But no, they say, we are your soldier.
Yeah, but who's really keeping track and who's going to remember? I wouldn't have remembered unless I looked it up. So...
yeah, that's true, I guess. I don't really know the people who watched Power of the Daleks the week before this episode aired. I don't know. Anyway, the doctor's like, that's kind of weird. What's going on here?
Except the 11th Doctor has a more visceral reaction to this. He has a more visceral reaction, I think, than any previous Doctor would have.
Well, the 9th Doctor, pretty much tried to straight up murder that Dalek in Dalek, so...
Well, the 9th Doctor has also sort of had this underlying, understated anger towards everyone and everything. Whereas the 9th Doctor just takes a giant wrench and starts smacking the Dalek.
The 11th Doctor, you mean?
Yeah, the 11th Doctor. Welcome to the Moffat era.
Well, the 11th Doctor's trying to convince the Dalek that he's a Dalek, basically. And the Dalek's just not having it. And he's like...
He's like, you're my enemy, so kill me.
And the Dalek's like, no, you want some tea? We just want to serve. We want to help the British win the war. And they're like, we want to win the war. And the Doctor's like, which war? And the Dalek's like, do not understand.
I think the Doctor also confronts Churchill and Bracewell. He's like, hey, you guys didn't create these things. I don't know what you think you did or what actually happened, but these are alien beings who are out to destroy everything.
Churchill's like, yeah, well, they're helping us win the war, so I don't really care.
Churchill said he'd even side with the devil if Hitler invaded.
Oh, yeah, he's like, if we went to hell, I'd side with the devil against Hitler or something.
Yeah. Amy also doesn't remember the Daleks.
Yeah, because the Doctor asks Amy if she remembers the Daleks invading all the planets in the sky. She's like, nope. The Doctor's like,
well, you really should. She's like, well, I don't. And this is obviously related to the cracks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I read on the wiki in the story notes that the same musical cue is played when you see the crack as when Amy talks about this to hint that it's related. But
completely missed that.
But you don't even need that. It's so obviously related to the cracks in time that it's not even necessary.
I don't even notice that.
Yeah, I didn't notice it either. But it's so obvious and in your face that you don't need that. Again, welcome to the Moffat era. Again, I'm not actually making fun of all this stuff. Okay, I mean, I am, in a joking way, but...
Subtlety's been thrown out the window.
Yeah, but I don't glorify subtlety.
You should.
Well, I don't.
Well, you should. So, anyway.
I don't think I should. And I'm not going to.
The Doctor eventually actually convinces the Daleks that they're the Daleks. Although he doesn't actually convince them, they're just testimony accepted, and they just beam out. The Doctor's like, wait, what?
The thing that prompts him to do that is he says, I'm the Doctor, and you're the Daleks or something. And once he says, I'm the Doctor. So they're actually using that line, I am the Doctor, and putting it to good use. Whereas a lot of the time it's just really, you had to throw that in. The worst offender of that is still Spiral Scratch.
I just don't even want to remember Spiral Scratch, frankly. That was just such a travesty.
It
was such a travesty.
The time loop thing with the repeated chapter and all the people showing up at the end, including Frobisher.
And all the other alternate versions of the Doctor that all just die in the same place.
And the Rome survived thing that was a lot better than the rest of the book.
Spiral Scratch was just a travesty of both writing and just Doctor Who. That I just want to just forget it. Frankly.
Anyway, I want to bring up that Bracewell can't do natural hand motions for the life of him. I don't know who's playing him, but he just can't do it.
Maybe he's doing that on purpose, though.
Yeah, well, because he's a robot and stuff, but still.
Maybe he's doing that on purpose.
Yeah, but even if he is, he shouldn't be.
I mean, maybe he's trying to give you a hint that he's not human, so that's why he's doing it.
I mean, did you see the whole Bracewell's a robot thing coming? I thought he just had fake memories implanted or something. He created the Daleks.
No, I didn't see him being a robot coming, and I didn't see him being a bomb coming either.
Yeah, definitely didn't see the whole bomb thing coming, but I didn't see the robot thing coming.
The bomb thing was really dumb, honestly, because why would the Daleks... Never mind, we're not there yet.
We'll get
bring
there.
this up when we get there.
That's one of my things to talk about after we finish the thing, the summary thing.
The doctor says something...
Whatever this is.
The doctor says something like, exterminate them to Churchill about destroying the Daleks. He's like, we need to exterminate them. I was like, okay.
Welcome to the Moffat era.
Anyway, the doctor's like, what did he mean testimony?
They've always done this thing. Even the classic show does this to a much less noticeable extent, but they've always done this thing where the doctor is the foil of the Daleks. He's at least in some ways like them, and he tries to deny that also. And here they just play it up, crank it up to 11 for the 11th Doctor.
Wow.
It's true.
Just wow.
Anyway, we find out Bracewell is a robot, I think.
Well, yeah, because when they leave, Bracewell's like, no, you're my Ironsides, I created you. And they're like, no, we're the Daleks, we created you. And they just blast his hand instead of just killing him, I guess. But they shoot his hand and then teleport out, and he's like, ah!
No, that's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, they do the Star Wars thing where they lop someone's hand off, like every movie. And they're like, wow, that's kind of weird. Sorry, Bracewell. This has probably shattered your entire perception of the world, but, we have more important things to deal with right now.
Yeah, it turns out all his memories are fake. This story actually deals with some interesting stuff, like, these fake memories and finding out you're a robot and stuff, and, it just doesn't have too much time to actually go into too much detail on any of those. Kind of does near the end. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. It's nice that it even brought them up.
Right.
Bracewell tries to electric ant himself in a little bit. Electric Ant is a story by Philip K. Dick. It's about this guy who finds out that he's a robot and that all his memories are fake, and it takes some really interesting and trippy turns.
Well, yeah, like every Philip K. Dick story.
Yeah.
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep does that. This is the book that Blade Runner is based on, but halfway through the book, the plot of the book diverges way from the movie.
Yeah.
And he goes to the precinct, he starts thinking that everyone's a replicant, but now he doesn't know anymore, and he thinks he might be a replicant. It gets really weird.
Not even there. I mean, that part is still pretty grounded. Like, at the end of that book, it gets very strange.
But that's when it starts to diverge from the movie, is that point.
Actually, the end of Electric Ant is quite similar, I think, to the end of what's called Androids. Where it's like he finds out I'm not going to go into it. He finds out he's fake, but it's as if everyone else is fake, and the whole world is just, I don't know. It's weird.
It's weird.
And there's a lot of actual stuff you can read about simulation theory in relation to that story, which is weird because it's, not weird, but it's interesting because it's only a 5-page story. But yeah.
A story doesn't have to be long to be.
No, it doesn't. One of my favorite stories, I always forget what the story's called, but it's the map story by Jorge Luis Borges. And it's only 3 sentences, but there's more to say about that story than most novels and stories that are hundreds of pages.
Oh, brevity's the soul of wit, according to Shakespeare, I guess.
Well, he probably just stole that from someone.
Or he just wrote it himself and then forgot and had memories implanted that he stole it from someone else, but it was actually him.
I mean, Shakespeare's genius is similar to Chaucer's genius in that his genius is that he can compile sources rather than, I don't know, come up with new stuff. That's why the Shakespeare Code on Doctor Who kind of bothered me. It's like, you're the master wordsmith. You always create these new things.
Well, he did coin a lot of words.
Yeah, he did. And compilation is maybe it's a form of creation. I don't know, but we're completely off topic now. So let's just get back to where.
Because not much actually happens in this story when you really think about it.
Well, it was nice. It was it was a simple story. There's actually a lot going on at the end though, in terms of relating this back to the early days of Doctor Who, and we're going to talk about that.
Well, so the Doctor goes to the spaceship.
Yeah, he goes up to the spaceship because they find out that the Dalek spaceship is in orbit.
Yeah,
and
he leaves Amy behind.
Right.
He brings a jammy Dodger though. It's this is the TARDIS self-destruct.
I've never heard these cookies referred to as I guess it's a British term, jammy Dodger. I just call them a cookie.
Jammy Dodgers?
Or jelly cookie.
Huh. Jammy Dodger's a superior name. Jammy Dodgers are good cookies. We used to have them all the time in South Africa. And we didn't call them that. We didn't call them jelly cookies either. We had another name for them, I'm not remembering. But he says it's the TARDIS self-destruct. The Daleks believe him.
For a while.
And they're watch the humans destroy themselves, and they turn on the lights in London because it's nighttime now, and if the Germans can see everything, and I guess they can like just
They just have an easier
bomb.
time. They just have an easier
Yeah.
time.
Bomb what they actually
Okay,
want to
so
bomb.
wait, let's get back to this cookie for a second. Did the doctor actually ever like pick it up and be like, "I'm going to use this," and we see that's a cookie? Because as soon as he because as soon as
just
he
walks
pulled
out
it out,
with
I was
it.
like, "That looks like a cookie," and it was
Because it is
so-
a cookie.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, yeah, they turn on all the lights, and London goes into alert mode because they can't turn them off.
Yeah, because the doctor's like, this ship is basically destroyed. You don't have the power to destroy Earth. And the Daleks like, well, just watch them destroy each other. The Daleks are also like, we're a ship that fell through time after one of our battles with you. And I'm like, God, the Doctor really sucks at destroying the Daleks.
Well, the Doctor and the Daleks actually have this entire like minute-long conversation about like their backstory and stuff, and I was just like, this is just the last time on the Doctor versus the Daleks, just to catch everyone up to speed. And that's actually interesting, because going back and rewatching the Daleks, the second story for the episode we're going to put out on it, is interesting, because those early episodes, don't ever really assume that you haven't seen the other ones. They just start right off the bat. Like the one where Ian gets into the Dalek.
Yeah.
That one just starts. Like if you haven't watched, and this is really weird in an era where it's really hard to rewatch things, if you haven't watched the previous stuff, you're just thrown right in, which is okay, but there's no like, it doesn't do like a last time on Doctor Who thing. There's no setup for any of this. You just got to jump right into it. Mm-hmm. Which is actually really interesting and strange in this era where you almost can't rewatch anything.
Right. But at the same time, I guess this is something we're going to talk about on the Daleks. Yeah, you don't want to waste time on it when your episodes are only 23 minutes, right?
Right. No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do that. I'm just saying it's a really interesting and choice to... Maybe it's not so much a choice, but an interesting thing to have in the episode.
Last time on Doctor Who, and then they just flash like single frames of the episode for like 10 seconds, and they're like, you're caught up now. But yeah, this I guess it's unclear where this Dalek spaceship comes from, but it's implied not to be the Time War. It's implied to be some other battle that the Doctor fought against them in one of the other episodes, I guess. And then I was just like, wow, the Doctor really sucks at destroying the Daleks.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing every single Dalek story has taught us, it's that.
They just keep escaping through time, or escaping
Or
through
not
some
even
other
through time.
nonsense.
They just keep escaping in general. Or he just misses one of them, and they bring
That's why
them
it's
all
also
back.
kind of weird that the Doctor's like, I can finally destroy the Daleks for once and for all in this story, and it's like, no.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, throughout all of this, whenever the Doctor brought that up in the dialogue, I was like, just save the Earth, let them go. You're going to have another chance, and you're probably also going to fail then, but just, come on, let them go and save everyone.
Yeah, the Doctor seems to like really overestimate his track record with the Daleks here. He thinks he's really good at destroying these bad boys, but
he's not.
But he's
this
not.
is the 11th Doctor's arrogance, right?
yeah. Well, so then they're like, well, we found this Dalek progenitor device that'll create original Daleks.
Looks
Because
like
I
a
guess
little
these are
mini
like,
Dalek.
yeah, it looks like a little Dalek egg to me.
Looks like one of those doll/action figure things that you customize. It just comes as like a blank thing. I'm sure the company who makes that loves it. You just pick a freaking white blob of plastic and put it in a box and sell it. But it looks like one of those in sort of a Dalek shape, but metallic and glowing and not like that at all, actually, come to think of it. But hey, whatever.
Well, so then they're like, we're going to create new, like, original Daleks, like proper Daleks. Then they like pop out and they're like, they're like, we have to kill the inferior Daleks. They just kill the three that like
Well, the thing is,
survived the Doctor's onslaught
the thing
before.
is, the reason why they couldn't use this machine is that the Daleks are so different from how they originally were that the thing isn't even recognizing them as Daleks. It needed the Doctor's testimony.
That they're the Daleks.
Right. And as soon as it gets its testimony, it creates 5 new Daleks.
Which just kill the old Daleks.
Yeah. They accept it, though.
They accept death.
Yep.
Then the new Daleks are like, hey, we're the scientist, the drone, the eternal, the supreme,
Eternal's still the best one.
and the whatever the other one was.
Yeah, I don't remember. This is actually really interesting, though, and I didn't think of this until now, based on what this story is doing with, like, this thing that Doctor Who is, like, really fundamentally about and has been for 50 years, which is being a story that both looks to the future and past at the same time. Mm-hmm. Both in the story itself, it's a time travel sort of... it's not one story. It's a time travel franchise.
Narrative.
Yeah,
It's a very long narrative.
But also, like, in a meta sense as well. But anyway, we'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, this story is clearly Moffat trying to be like, well, we've got the whole reins of the show. Let's just redesign everything. And he's doing the Wachowski thing where you need someone to go like, Moffat, no.
Is that the Wachowski thing? Do the Wachowskis really need people to rein them back? I don't think so.
I think so. I mean, it started to... Revolutions and... what was the other one?
Reloaded.
Reloaded were clearly stuffed with ideas that nobody stopped the Wachowskis from putting into the
Yeah, but those are the best parts of the movies.
Are they?
All the freaky, strange, mind-blowy ideas. Not mind-blowy, just interesting to think about.
Yeah, but those movies are like drastically different from the first one, and in many ways worse.
I think the action is what actually drags those two down. The action's a lot weaker than the first one.
Well, also the George Lucas thing. You need someone to say no. Anyway, I'm trying to remember what happens next. Amy is like, oh, we need to get someone up there to destroy the ship. And then Churchill's like, we don't have anything. And Amy's like, we have a robot.
Well, they call the Doctor's bluff. And they use, the people back on Earth have used Bracewell to tune in to what's going on the ship so they know what's up.
Yeah, and then Bracewell's like, we could launch freaking fighter planes into space using this gravity well nonsense.
I forget what the actual thing is, but whoever suggests this, and I think it's Amy actually, and Bracewell sort of like, Amy sparks the idea, and then Bracewell's like, yeah, we could do this, and Churchill's like, no, we can't do that, but we could do this, and what he says is the exact same thing or something like that. But what they actually suggest is like missiles or something like that.
Yeah.
But then when you get to it, it's planes.
Yeah. They decide to send Spitfires into space. This imagery is just absurd for so many reasons. Seeing a freaking Spitfire in space.
Why? I mean,
the lead Spitfire is named Danny Boy, and if you didn't pick up on it, it's played by Mark Gatiss himself.
Huh, yeah, I didn't notice that. I didn't know what Mark Gatiss looked like, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Well, you can barely see him under the visor and the air mask and everything that he's wearing, but you can kind of tell by his voice.
Right. This is a really silly thing to do, is launch these things into space.
Yes.
They are like modified. I don't think they look like the models don't look like.
Also, it would take them like
look like.
It would take them like 2 hours to get into space.
Yeah, but this is something I want to bring up. On the one hand, this is kind of weird. Not weird. It's just kind of silly. Like I was okay with it, but I did think it's kind of silly. But on the other hand, I think this is doing something really cool, and we'll talk about this in a little bit.
I think it's just silly. If only because it would take them like 2 hours to get into space, and by that point, the Daleks would have already blown up Earth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
They just compressed the timeline a lot, which makes it really weird.
I'm not too bothered by that. The silliness to me just comes from the image itself of the planes in space.
So the Doctor tells them to destroy the dish on the bottom of the Dalek spaceship, and 2 of the Spitfires get destroyed in the process.
There's
but
this
Danny
massive
Boy succeeds.
dogfight, and I didn't think that this was really good at all.
No, because it's Spitfires in space, and no one really knows how to like CG Spitfires in space, and it just looks the CG's kind of low budget, and they're like all the movements seem really unnatural, and apparently the Spitfires have laser cannons, so. That was the other thing, like...
That part didn't That part didn't really bother me either. I just didn't think the choreography of it or anything like that, how it's shot, was good at all. And space battles like this isn't really something Doctor Who's ever done. They did in The End of Time, kind of. And that one was really good, if I remember correctly. But here they didn't land it.
They didn't land it because it's an airplane.
Wow.
No, I agree. The whole battle was just a complete flop, in my opinion. And they try to build all the suspense with all the other 2 Spitfires getting killed off, except for Danny Boy, and it just doesn't... It just falls flat on its face. Like, you don't really care, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the Doctor makes it to the TARDIS.
I wanted to touch on this a little bit later, but we're already talking about this in depth now, so I'll just put it in now. Is like, and I brought this up earlier in the episodes, Doctor Who's always been like sort of a story, and I'm just realizing this now. I'm just sort of speculating on this. This is something I've been thinking about in the last maybe week or so. So Doctor Who has really always been a story about connecting the past and the future, both in the sense that, like we said, it's a time travel franchise, and also in a meta sense. It's a story that always looks forward. It looks towards doing these new things, and it embraces change, but it never forgets its history. It hasn't been rebooted. It always makes these callbacks. This episode in particular is even a good example of that. It's always a story that looks back and learns from the past instead of forgetting everything.
Doesn't learn necessarily, though.
maybe not learn, but it definitely
Because I think it makes the
considers its
same
own
mistake
past. Maybe it does, but
a lot of the times.
it considers its own past. This is a franchise that really does. It considers its own past, and this is really interesting. I mean, when you think about what this like, it's this time travel TV franchise, and the first thing they do, they can go anywhere and any when. The first thing they do in Doctor Who is they go back to the past, the far distant past.
Right.
That to me is really interesting. And yeah, the Spitfire thing, it's really silly. All of this is kind of maybe not the best decision, but I don't know. There's this thing here about connecting like this past thing, these old planes, to like a newer era, letting them fly in space, fly around and stuff like that. Doesn't mean I don't think it's silly, because I do. But there's also something cool going on behind the scenes here, I think. And it's done like we've mentioned, the 11th Doctor era has really played up everything to it's cranked everything up to 11 for the 11th Doctor. And here it kind of does that too, I think.
Right. I mean, I agree. I don't have much to say on that. I don't necessarily agree that Doctor Who learns from its past, because I think it makes the same mistake quite a number of times. And if it was actually learning, I feel like someone would go, hey, didn't we do this before, and didn't it like not work? But no one seems to actually do that. They just kind of go, hey, this was a cool idea that we did in the past. And I guess that's going to be a theme of the season, because we're going to get the Silurians back later this season.
Heck yeah.
Maybe it's even next week, because I don't remember what the next...
No, next week's the Weeping Angels. And River Song.
Oh, right, the Time of the Angels is next week.
River Song and the Weeping Angels. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, just you wait. The next week is the start of Stephen Moffat really nerfing the Weeping Angels, but at the same time also making him way more OP and like changing their entire lore and like kind of really just breaking Blink. Honestly, we'll talk about that next week. Then. That's one of those Doctor Who doesn't learn from its past, because that's one of the more you bring back a villain, the less scary they get kind of things that nobody seems to realize.
Well, this is a challenge also when a franchise is over 50 years old, especially one that wants to change, wants to do new things, and also doesn't want to forget where it came from.
I guess. But anyway. The Doctor...
Anyway, they have this whole dogfight.
They have this whole dogfight. And then the Daleks are like, haha, surprise, we have a bomb on Earth. And the Doctor's like, what? You're bluffing. And they're like, nope, Bracewell's a bomb. And then they're like, you either save Bracewell and the whole Earth, or you kill us. The Doctor's like, damn, I guess I'll go save Earth. And the way they stop this bomb is by having Bracewell remember that feeling of love, and then Amy makes some comments that kind of indicate that she's in love with the Doctor.
Well, this is really... Yeah, she does. This is seen as more effective than it sounds in concept. If someone explained this to me before having watched it, I would have been like, that's going to be absolute garbage. I'm going to hate that. But when it was actually done, especially because Bracewell is kind of a... not a nothing character, but he wasn't like a great character. We skipped the whole scene where he almost commits suicide, kind of, because we talk about how he electric ants himself.
Yeah, you said he electric ants himself.
But we didn't mention the gun. But like, I really liked this, and I was surprised considering, again, what Bracewell's character is. They sort of quote unquote talk him down by
making him realize he
has like these human emotions, right?
Because he thinks he's just a robot, and the Doctor's like, no, you're human. You have human emotions.
And as the bomb is sort of counting down, when Amy mentions, this potential thing going on between her and the Doctor, right? And Bracewell remembers, I forget, Bella or
something.
I forget. Someone he was in love with at some point. And that's what stops the bomb.
Right.
And we'll talk, I don't know if we want to insert this, because we're already talking about it. That's why, again, I feel like our new formula is falling apart if we talk about this here. This is something I want to bring up, but we'll just move on.
We'll move on. Well, we're almost done with the plot anyway, because then the Daleks escape. Duh. And the Doctor's like really upset about this, and Amy's like, no, you're fine. You've saved the Earth. And the Doctor's like, yeah, but I could have killed the Daleks.
Yeah, I want to mention how I like how Amy sort of steps in here, and she's the one who also helps. I really like Amy as a companion. She has instincts that I think previous companions haven't had, and she makes the right decision at the right time. She's kind of a hero in herself.
She thinks on her feet.
She's in some ways, I think she's more Doctor-like than the 11th Doctor, which is weird.
Potentially. That's something Moffat plays with later on when we get Clara. with the companion becoming like the Doctor, and that kind of inversion again that we talk about between what you expect and what actually happens that Moffat likes to do a lot. And then they're supposed to deactivate Bracewell because they take out all the alien technology, and Churchill's like, couldn't you just leave it? We could like win the war in like a day. And the Doctor's like, yeah, that's why I have to take it away. And he has to supposedly go disable Bracewell, and they're like, yeah, it's going to take us like half an hour to go do this other thing, Bracewell, before we deactivate you, so like definitely don't run away or anything.
And he's just not getting it. This guy is just completely dense. He's just not understanding what they mean. But eventually he eats clued in.
Bracewell, run away. So
and they go get in the TARDIS. They have a small discussion before they get in. Amy says, I thought it would just be, running around saving people, but there's actually danger out there. If the freaking beast below didn't clue you in.
And then the Doctor's like, you should have remembered the Daleks and you didn't, and that's weird. Then they get in the TARDIS and they leave.
And we see a crack behind the TARDIS.
Cracks keep appearing right after the TARDIS leaves. I'm not going to say whether that's related to anything or not, but...
Yeah, I haven't gotten so far whether they're appearing right when it leaves or if they're just like there, or we see them when it leaves, because it was behind, we just see it behind the TARDIS. We don't see it like sort of open.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's just what I got out of it, not having watched anything after this.
Anyway, now we can talk about some other things. I want to talk about this weird...
The bomb!
Well, there's the bomb, but first I want to talk about right after they turn the lights off, when the thing goes off, and then once they get through the night, there's this really weird, like... There's a famous photograph from World War II called the flag raising over Iwo Jima, or raising the flag over Iwo Jima, I think it's called, and it's these American soldiers raising the American flag on the island of Iwo Jima. And they like make a really oblique visual reference to this when the British soldiers are raising the flag over the roof of the bunker after the night is over. And I just thought that was like a really weird reference to put in a British show about the British side of the war.
Well, it's like a joint effort.
That's true, but like the photograph is like a very American photograph.
Man, maybe they liked it. I don't know.
I mean, it's a really famous photograph too. And, like I said, it's a very American photograph. It's like almost idolized in American culture as this symbol of freedom and hope and how America's supposed to go around the world instituting democracy everywhere or whatever the hell. And it's just, to me, it seemed really weird that they, in this story, no less about the Daleks, put a visual reference to this famous photo.
Yeah. Well, the Daleks... and especially with Davros, have always been Nazi-like. And this is the first one that, like, is in World War II.
And it's really interesting helping the British fight against the Nazis.
Right. Not that they go overboard with that, but I think there's some actually really cool stuff that's happening in this story that's related to that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also related to the bomb thing. We can, I guess, talk about now, unless you have anything else to... Yeah. So we get this thing with the bomb, right, which we kind of explained before, and just kind of silly, right? Like him just... thinking like, right, I have these human emotions and that's what stops the bomb from going off. But there's, like with the planes, I think there's something really cool going on here, right, from this. And this might actually be sort of naive on the story's part. But like from this really strange, almost humanist perspective, this story is saying like, right, if you have these emotions, if you have these thoughts, if you have these feelings, then you're human. Like no matter what anyone says, you can't be used as a tool.
Right.
Which is basically perfect, right, for this World War II story, right? I mean, look how many people were vilified and used as propaganda tools, basically, by the Nazis in Germany, right?
Right.
Obviously, Jewish people, disabled people, and tons of other groups as well were used as, like, these propaganda tools. And this story comes out, not that it needs to, because, most people aren't sympathetic with, like, the Third Reich, not that it needs to, but this story does come out and say, like if you have these thoughts, emotions, feelings, if you've gone through all this, then you're, human, and no one can use you as a tool.
Right. And,
I mean, yeah, I think it works well in that sense.
I agree. I mean, during World War II, it was always like, if you were a low-level Nazi, it was like, well, I was just following orders. But it's like, as long as you feel anger or hatred or some sort of resistance emotion, you're not being used as a tool necessarily. You're not just following orders, you're not just being used. You do have an element of choice So...
Right. And I mean, just to clarify what I'm talking about, I don't know if you were like responding to exactly that, but I'm saying like groups were used as propaganda tools by the Nazis.
Right.
Like a lot of Nazi rhetoric was like, look, Jews are ruining Germany. We need to get rid of them and stuff like that. So
Right. I mean, I was taking it in a different direction.
Yeah.
I wasn't responding directly to you.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how the character they decide to do with these emotions, because there's this other interesting thing, because the Daleks are always like, well, we don't have emotions except for hate. We only have hate.
And the Doctor even says in this, like, that's the embodiment of pure hate. Whereas when the Daleks were first introduced, they didn't have any emotions at all.
And then Bracewell gets defeated by... the bomb in Bracewell gets defeated by love.
Wow.
Because Bracewell loves this woman.
Yeah.
So there's something interesting going on there, too, I think.
Yeah.
Because, the Daleks built these bomb with pure hatred, but Bracewell feels love.
Yeah.
Guess the point is love beats hate.
Yeah. Guess that is the point.
I don't have anything else actually to say. I covered all my notes.
Yeah, same here. I liked this story.
I liked it. I don't think it was super great, but I liked it.
And I don't get why people overall, maybe I get why, but I don't agree with disliking these new Daleks.
It's the new Dalek paradigm.
I like the new designs. They're cool.
Well, prepare to be disappointed. They're just really bulky, in my opinion.
They are bigger.
They're bigger and kind of bulky and less clean, I think. Just in my opinion. They still look like Daleks, just bulkier. They look like a special weapons Dalek in whatever the 7th Doctor Dalek story was. The one that just had the one gun in the middle that you could just blow up literally anything.
I don't remember that one, actually. But, whatever.
The one that was basically impossible to defeat and they had no idea what to do. Anyway.
I barely remember that story at all. Except for the little girl being Davros or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember.
No. The little girl was the Dalek, the Supreme Dalek.
Whatever.
Or something. And like the Supreme Dalek was, or like the Chief Dalek, or you know what? I don't know. But there was a big dome, and then it opened up, and Davros was inside, and it was supposed to be this big reveal, but it was like completely fell flat on its face because every Dalek story at that point featured Davros, and you were more surprised if Davros hadn't been in that story. Anyway, you can email us at thedoctor@decorativefestival.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on the new Dalek paradigm. You love it? Do you hate it? You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're watching The Time of the Angels and Flesh and Stone. But until then, the end.